I didn't remember what I signed up for.
And call the meeting to order, please. All rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I salute the flag of
the state of Mexico, the symbol of perfect friendships among united cultures.
I should never read that. I don't know.
All right, the meeting is called to order at 5:31 p.m. I believe, guys. Ms. Sandoval, roll call, please.
Dr. Archambault?
Here.
Ms. Daly?
Here.
Mr. Jaramillo?
Here.
Mr. Ortiz?
Here.
Mrs. Lee?
Present. We do indeed have a quorum. Are there any changes to the agenda? If so, what? Superintendent Widener, is there a recommendation
I recommend to approve the agenda.
as presented? Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you. And may I have a second, please?
I'll second.
We'll give it to Ron tonight. Thank you, Mr. Ortiz. It has been moved by Dr. Archambault and seconded by Mr. Ortiz to approve the agenda as presented. I do not believe there's further need for discussion. Therefore, we shall proceed to a roll call vote. Ms. Sandoval, please.
Dr. Shambo,
Yes.
Ms. Hunt Daily,
Yes.
Mr. Jaramillo,
Yes.
Mr. Ortiz,
Yes.
Mrs. Lee.
Motion carries. We now have the adoption of minutes from April 2nd, 2024. Are there any amendments to the minutes? And if so, what?
For me.
All right, Superintendent Widener, a recommendation, please.
I recommend to approve the minutes from the April 2nd school board meeting
As presented.
as presented.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented? Thank you. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved by Ms. Hunt Daly and seconded by Mr. Jaramillo to approve the minutes as presented. Any need for discussion? Hearing none, we shall proceed to a roll call vote. Mrs. Sandoval, please.
Dr. Shambo,
Yes.
Ms. Hunt Daly,
Yes.
Mr. Ortiz, Mr.
Yes.
Jaramillo, sorry,
Yes. And yes.
2 for 1 there.
2 for 1, and Mrs. Lee.
Aye, motion carries. Wonderful. Mr. Widener, recognitions, please.
All right, everybody, it is that time of the month where we have recognized, we have reached our SEL presentations. And so that's usually our middle of the month meeting. And so our traveling trophies will go to new recipients. And so it's my honor to present our SEL plaques for social emotional love in the classroom. I will start off with the one that has been traveling through the secondary classrooms. It has gone to several different folks at the secondary level. I want to recognize a teacher who is outstanding with her social emotional love. She cares about her students. She cares about the people that she works with. Very, very loving face at Grants High School. It's my pleasure to present the SEL plaque for secondary to Miss Ellie McDonald.
Congratulations and thank you so much. I don't know if any of you know this, but Miss McDonald was actually my son JT's AP art teacher way, way back in the mid-teens. And he loved art, and thank you so much for continuing to help these students learn to love art. Thank you.
It's crazy to think the mid-teens was way, way back. Our elementary plaque has been making the rounds at several different elementary areas. We're excited to see where it goes from month to month. It is going to an outstanding individual who truly is the epitome of SEL on her campuses. She is a counselor. She works with the kids. She works very closely with the kids. She's the head of the SEL team at Blue Water and at San Rafael. She spends her time going back and forth between each campus and really building relationships with the kids there, the families there, and trying to help them with all of their social emotional needs. It is my pleasure to present the elementary plaque for the month of April to Mrs. Beth Armstead. picture. Well, do you guys want to take a picture with her for teams?
Thank you so much for all you do for our kids.
And finally, I have the Edu Champion belt that has been moving throughout our schools into different places, different locations, different sites. Tonight, we're recognizing an outstanding teacher who is very involved in the school at Blue Water Elementary School. She's been there for a long time, taught lots of kids, and impacts students' lives every day with her love, with her care, with her strong teaching. It is my pleasure to present the Edu Champion belt to Mrs. Tammy Boyd. And I have to put it on you. You have to do the boxer pose.
I would like my team to come up.
Yes, your team.
Yes.
So I'm very honored to receive this. However, I don't do what I do in isolation. I have all these wonderful colleagues that work with me, and we are a great team at Blue Water. We can't do it without each other. You guys stood up.
Mr. Miller?
Mr. Miller. You're good.
That is a big team.
That's great.
That completes our SEL Traveling Trophy recognitions for the month of April.
Wonderful, thank you. And Ms. Sandoval, are there any citizens to address the board?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Widener, we're on to presentations, please.
We will be recognizing some outstanding students in our presentations. We've asked several of their teachers to come with them, and our kids are doing a lot. As you know, springtime is always busy, and so we have a whole lot going on different campuses around the state and big events. So at this time, we just celebrated last Saturday the State Science Fair, and we sent a group of students to the State Science Fair. And so I'd like to turn the floor over to Cody Hayes, Catherine Habiger, Mark Zayat, and Miss A, Dr. A.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, good evening. My name is Cody Hayes. I'm the Local Science Fair Director, Department of Science Department here at Grants High School. We're here tonight with by Ms. Catherine Habiger of Los Alamitos High School, Mark Sayat of Milan Elementary, and Dr. A from the Early College High School, and Shelby Alexander, the director of the Four Corners Regional Science Fair. This last weekend, on Friday, we departed for the Science Fair, participated in the New Mexico State Science Fair competition at Socorro, New Mexico, in New Mexico Tech University. We took approximately 40 students from Grants Cibola County Schools to that competition, a competition of approximately 200 students. So if you went down that line, about 1 in every 5 kids there at that fair was one of your students. And
That's amazing.
that's about twice as many as just 2 years years ago, and it's not a matter of at a regional level lowering our standards and just taking anything we could to get our numbers up there. It's a matter of twice as many kids, if not more, being at that level, thanks to the hard work of their teachers. We did phenomenally well, as well. In the junior division, I think I got my number right, I think 14 different students, so that would be 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, 14 different students received at least one award at the awards that night. I lost count, Ms. Lee, you sent out the number, I think it was 40 times during the junior
Yes.
competition that that their name and one of your schools in this
Yes.
district was called out. So 14 of them, some highlights including Lucas Rigner was second place in the paper competition, which is the work of the Junior Academy of Sciences, New Mexico Junior Academy of Sciences. And that's a tough competition, because those kids, they do a lot above and beyond. They have to prepare their papers at the level of what you would submit for a scientific journal. Then they have to make a PowerPoint presentation of 10 minutes in length, present that to a panel of judges, and stand up to questioning in front of that room. It's a tough competition.
Yes.
And we had, I think when it started, we had 8 students participate in our local paper competition. And then we had 3 participating at the junior level and 2 at the senior level. Lucas was second place at that, and then a homeschooler in the district, Isabel Holly, was 4th place in the paper competition. Numerous category awards in the fields of biomedical and behavioral sciences, animal and microbiology, chemistry, environmental science, plant science. And then the big one of the night on the junior side was our very own Harry Lee III. He was awarded for his project, his continuation project from last year, was awarded the Life Sciences Grant Award, which means that his project was named the single best junior science project in the entire state for the life. On the senior side, if I counted correctly, I think we had nine different individuals recognized at the senior level. We had 2 participate in paper competition, no awards in paper competition this year, however. Winners in categories for animal science and microbiology, behavioral and social sciences, biomedical and health sciences, environmental and engineering, math, computer science and technology, and physics. And then our grand award winners to recognize are Brandy Bassett, who already, where is she? Brandy Bassett, who had already won her trip to the International Science and Engineering Fair through the regional competition. She was named the 2nd runner-up from the state level. And then I think he's still trying to take it all in, honestly. Nobody's more surprised than this kid, but the team project of Lucas Colburn and Ryan Tortolita, they were named the 3rd project overall at the fair in the state, and will be attending the International Science and Engineering Fair. The final one you have hiding back there, that's Faith Valdez, who was also awarded at the regional fair. She earned her ISF finalist spot at the regional fair. So that makes 4 students from Grants High School. Finalists at the International Science and Engineering Fair, where they'll participate with the best projects from approximately 75 countries around the world. In May, about 3 weeks. You guys would like to add anything?
For me, the only thing I could add is that this weekend for us, Los Alamitos has always been the mediocre school. It's always been the one that nobody wanted to go to, or it's always been the lowest of the low. And this weekend, we made our map. We were the best of the best. And thank you to the parents who helped and to the teachers and to the support of Ms. Sanchez for your help this weekend so much. We appreciate it so much.
For the early college high school, it is our first time to join the state fair since 2019. So we hope to get better.
Yes.
Since I'm the low elementary, I would like to thank first the Grants Cebula District for giving us the opportunity about this. And also, it is the time again where Milan won the competition, because it was really the last time when I checked the portal for the science fair. It was Harry is the last one who won again from Milan, so it's the time again for Milan to win again. Thank you so much.
Okay, I just want to say a couple of words. One of them is like, when I retired 3 years ago, the main reason why I retired, because I knew after COVID, there was no way to keep the science fair going if I didn't go and visit schools all over our region. And I did that with the help of Cody and my wife and the other people on our science fair board. And we were able to continue to do this. The first year of COVID, we had like 10 students that participated. Next year it was like 12 or 15. Last year it was about 30. This year was over 150. Or I shouldn't say 100, 115 plus. And the majority of them, it was split 50-50, pretty close, but there was actually a few more that were in junior high. The thing that was amazing is again, to the last few years, there are a lot more girls participating than boys. And we're trying to get the numbers up on both of them. I spend a lot of time with all the different elementary schools, the middle schools, to we're doing the Acoma or junior, senior high. Work closely with Ms. Maldonado. She's done a really good job out there. We need to appreciate what she's done. She's working with Mr. Paris and Miss Julie. Chemistry teacher, Ramsey. So they've agreed they're gonna pick up the ball, and they're gonna try to get more students involved again next year in the reenactment. Before the teachers that were there last year went back to the Philippines, we got their numbers up to about the same as Grants High School was producing. This year, the high school fell off a little bit, and Ms. Maldonado was able to get 15 students to participate in junior high, so that's a good sign. It makes me feel really good, because all these places I go now, I can tell kids like it because they want to see me every time I go to schools. They want me to come back the next day. And at San Rafael, fifth graders even wanted me to do a science fair for them. And I'll say, well, maybe we can figure that out next year, but we really don't have time. But I would go by after I visited with the sixth graders every other week, and I would spend a little time with them on some little things they could do for science and stuff like that. I think there's a tremendous need in the district for it. And I think there's a way that you can work that so that maybe you can get someone to go in and do some outreach with the teachers and help the teachers gain confidence. Because I've seen, when I go to San Rafael and Sugaretta and Cubero, that the teachers really want to do it, but many of them don't feel comfortable doing it. But if I'll show up and get them started, then they'll usually follow through. So I'm going to continue to try and do that. And I want to thank Mr. Sayat, Ms. Javier, Ms. Aloysa, because they decided they would do it, and they've been working really hard to make a difference. I go to the early college high school about once a week or so. We got them started, and she said, we'll try it and see, and the kids actually like doing it. And I think that's good. And then all these students, they're just like the students I had in all the years I was here. If you give them the opportunity to do something, you challenge them to do it, they'll usually rise to the occasion. And it says something when you have students, an individual winner at state, and two, they're a team winner, and they're going to the International Science Fair. If they can do and continue to do what they're doing, then we have some really good like that. We hope it is. Okay, I want to thank you for everything the district's done. Mr. Donato, Ms. Jones, Mr. Martin, Mr. Wagner, and school board members, Dr. Guy, Mr. Armio, and Ms. Wood. And with that, I think it's good enough. Thank you.
Thank Thank you all so much for being here. Everything that you're doing to help our students grow and spread their wings and try new things is absolutely remarkable. We thank you so much. Thank you. Mr. Widener.
President Lee, at this time, we will have a presentation regarding our state FFA career development events. The week of April 1st, our school district sent students from Los Alamitos Middle School and Grants High School, and they went to Las Cruces to compete in the career development events. So without further ado, I'd like to turn the floor over to the FFA advisor, Mr. Amador Gonzalez.
Thank you, Superintendent Wagner, for the Board of Education. So like Mr. Wagner said, my name is Amador Gonzalez. I am the agriculture teacher and FFA advisor at Grants High School for the Grants FFA chapter. This year was a really exciting year because it's the first time since restarting our chapter earlier this year that we have taken students to compete at the state level in career development events. So career development events in context of the FFA are competitive events that are focused specifically on agricultural-based careers. So we had students competing in competitions related to floral design, livestock and horse evaluation, landscape design, horticultural produce, so learning about fruits and vegetables, and there's about 15 other career development events that New Mexico FFA offers in areas related to forestry, agricultural mechanics, veterinary sciences. The sky's the limit. So this year we took 5 teams, 14 students altogether from Los Alamitos Middle School and Grants High School. And we're really excited because one of our teams actually placed in the top 5 at the state level. Our landscape design team came home with 5th place plaque. So first of many plaques, hopefully, for Grants FFA. And one of our members also placed in the top 5 individually. Cheyenne Lewis placed 5th place in the landscape design contest. So we're really excited about the start for this. I've spoken with several individuals throughout the state, and they've all agreed that for a first year chapter, getting on the stage is a huge accomplishment in itself. And so I'm really proud of the students that I took, the hard work that they put in over 3 months of after school practices and early morning trips to invitationals all throughout the state. None of that would have been possible without the support of my parents, the Board of Education, our administrative team, and the transportation team and our business office for answering my 20 million phone calls and emails and making sure that my students had every opportunity possible to showcase their skills and represent Grants and Cibola County. So thank you again for allowing me this opportunity to present to you all tonight and to showcase the successes of my students.
Thank you so much.
The exciting thing about our CTSO programs is that they carry over from school to school. And so we have members at Los Alamitos who are Grants FFA members through Grants High School and the FFA program. Our Skills USA program is kind of throughout the district. So we have the Skills USA at Grants High School, Laguna Acoma High School. We have students that compete in lots of different kinds of career fields through Skills USA and the CTSO. And so we have a group of advisors that are here representing Grants High School and Laguna Acoma High School. It's my pleasure to introduce the advisors who will talk about their competitions that happened last week. So at this time, it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Jesse Rivera. Mrs. Seneca Natsaway. And Ron Gonzalez is not here? He's not here. He's not here. Okay. And they competed in lots of different types of events. So we'll let them talk about that.
Hello, everybody. So have a big thank you for everybody who has supported Skills USA. Skills USA is not only for hosting competitions, it's a career readiness program. It helps with scholarships, helps with community engagement, and helps students become career ready in all sorts of fields. So with that, the program that I have with my program, my chapter is a welding training program. In the welding training program, we teach the students how to use career standards so that they will be able to enter the welding industry, whether as a student at a technical college or somebody getting into the, just getting into work. So with me, I have Deontay Riley. He is one of my seniors, and he would like to share some of his experiences in Spokane State area.
Good evening, everybody. As you can see, this is my welding sculpture. At the Skills USA conference, I was in the welding sculpture division, and I placed second. And unfortunately, I believe I placed first, but.
I agree 100% with them.
It's beautiful.
That is gorgeous.
That's amazing.
How long did it take to make that?
In hours, I took 33 hours, but like, it's a span across like 2 months.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Should have been first, for sure. For sure,
I would have
first.
to say first.
Thank you.
That's amazing. That's beautiful.
Amazing.
You're talented.
Congratulations.
So talented.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jesse Rivera. I'm the residential construction teacher at Grants High School and the Skills USA advisor, one of them, the other one, Ron Gonzalez. We got to compete this weekend, this last week, in a bunch of different categories. There was 1,000 competitors at the conference. It was the biggest conference that New Mexico has ever seen. And I'm not quite sure on the number of schools that were there, but I know sitting in on the closing ceremony, we took 23 students, and of those 23 students, 14 of them medaled.
That's amazing. That
We had 3 medals, so we went from 3 medals to 14. We have made leaps and bounds in Skills USA, thanks to the district's support. I have 3 young ladies that are here. I think all 3 of you guys, it was your first time at Skills, right? It was all 3 of them their first time this year at Skills. And I just want them to talk about their experience and let you guys kind of know what happened there. You guys want to go first? Okay, introduce yourselves.
My name is Gabrielle Gonzalez. I'm Milo Conda. And so we did a digital cinema production. That was our category. So pretty much we had to make a short film, and our prompt was Voiceless World.
It's about like kind of the world like where something happens where you lose your voice and you kind of communicate by actions, more not necessarily by words, because kind of like a sign language, but like without kind of like a, how would you?
So pretty much actions were louder than words. Yeah. And so when we got there, we had to also make a little trailer.
A 1-minute trailer during our 3 hours. And that was like, it was another part of our grading process too, along with our 5-minute video.
And we placed bronze, so for our first time, I'm really happy about it.
amazing.
They got a scholarship.
Yes.
And then we got a scholarship to Audio Media Academy, 2000 to
There's 4,000 altogether, right? I think it was because you guys each got one, so it's $4,000 worth of scholarships.
Wow.
That they received for 3rd place.
Congratulations. Yay.
Hi, my name is Lisa Rose. I'm a senior at Grants High School. This year was my first year that I was a member of Skills USA. I didn't know really what it was before, but going into it, I definitely learned a lot. I met a lot of different people. I personally went into the category of video news production, and I was also entered into the quiz bowl. My team unfortunately didn't place in video news production, but we did place in the quiz bowl. We took bronze as well. So I'm very proud of us because we all worked together as a team, and we just learned a lot. We learned how to like be adaptable to our environment, be flexible with each other. So it was just good. Overall, it's a good experience, and I would recommend to any of my peers.
So one last thing that I would like to say is, all weekend long while we were there, I got nothing but compliments about Grants of County Schools, our students. Even when I was checking out of the hotel room, the morning of us coming back, the general manager said, "Hey, your kids were amazing. Thank you for taking care of them." And so all together, it was just amazing. It was an amazing weekend. Mr. Maldonado got to sit in on the closing ceremony. If you ever get a chance to go to a Skills USA closing ceremony, go take that opportunity, because it's one of the most amazing things you'll ever see. While we were in there and they were calling names, there were a lot of schools whose names were called over and over and over and over again. There were a lot of schools whose names weren't called at all, and Grants High School their name was called a lot. So it was really amazing, and I want to thank all of you guys and thanks for the support of the district.
Congratulations. Thank you so much. Good work, kiddos. Mr. Widener.
So 2 meetings ago, we had all of our secondary principals come and present on their graduation numbers and talk about when their graduations were, when it was going to be. Tonight, it looks like we only have one of our principals here. And so I do want to allow Mrs. Stevie Elkins, principal of Grants High School, to come up and talk about this is our last meeting before we get into graduation season. And so I wanted Mrs. Elkins to come report about their graduation.
Good evening, Mrs. President, board members, Mr. Superintendent, directors, Ms. Linville, community friends. I'm gonna commit to the twinsies outfit we have going on today, just so that you guys have some context. It was country versus hip hop, and so we went Nelly hip hop. Well, we wore the same exact thing, even the shoes, so that's what was going on, not hot. Not fun. But I wanna start by saying how grateful myself, Ms. Barajas, Mr. Jaramillo are, because everything that you just heard are the kids that we stand behind and the teachers that we stand behind every single day. It's easy for us to be proud of those kids, but when the community knows what they're doing, it makes us even more proud, because those are our babies, those are our kids. So everything that you saw, I just wanted to say how grateful we are to be a part of that, to be leading that from behind, because in no way are we responsible for those kids placing at St. Science Fair or at Skills USA or at FFA state competition. We rely on those advisors and those teachers, and we are so grateful for everybody. Graduation. So I just actually did it very linearly in what we reported last time, and I'm just gonna kind of update you on the numbers where we're at now. So on the previous report, I reported 119 students on track. We have moved that up to 127 students on track. We moved 7 of those students out of our credit recovery status up into on track status. So we were at 34 students recovering credit. We're now at 27. Of those 27, half of them are only on one credit recovery course. So they're getting pretty close to done. So I have 154 set to graduate today right now. So working on some of those other ones. We have had a couple of little changes. We have disenrolled 2 of those students since we last spoke. So right now, today, I am going to report to you 169 senior students with 154 of them set to graduate. That is not inclusive of our life skills kids who will graduate cohort-wise, but will return with us next year, and not inclusive of the student who graduated last year, who is on his, he's in our 18 to 22 program, so he still registers as a senior, so not inclusive of that student. So that's very cut and dry, very simply where we are at. We are rocking and rolling with credit recovery. We have kids finishing courses every day. Our senior SSAs, our credit recovery teachers are calling constantly. I know that parents are probably over us, but we're at the point in the year where we're calling every day. Your kid was late to first period today, we need them here. We do have a little bit of, and I think it's just this week, but a little bit of senioritis happening, it's prom, and so we are all over the place this week, the adults included. We are having a good time, so we're hoping that by Monday of next week, we're back to being regular, not prom crazy students, that those seniors are showing up, that they're showing up by time, they're done campaigning for themselves and for each other, and it's round the key, we can get back to normal life, because they are 4 Mondays from graduation, so. But that is all I have, unless I can answer any questions or clear anything up for anybody.
Question, sure. You reported, grants have 169,
Yes,
and only 154 are actually graduating.
if they were graduating today, I have 124 graduating, yes.
What about the other 15?
So some of those are special circumstances, like I said, some of those are life skills kids, the 4 are the life skills kids, that are gonna be graduating but returning. I have kids that are not in the correct cohort, so, they were supposed to graduate last year, so I don't count those towards the cohort graduation numbers, but they will be graduating as well. So the 175 that we originally reported are inclusive of those seniors for the 2023 cohort that are returned this year for their 5th year. So that's where they make those up.
What seems to be the major problem? We just take the right classes, fail classes,
As far as those returning, those 5th year returning seniors, or just generally?
just generally.
Generally, attendance is our number one problem. We have, and I've spoken about this before, a huge attendance problem, and if kids would just come to school, we would ensure that they would graduate. So attendance is the number one problem. I've talked kind of about the teeth in the credit recovery game. And so we are trying really hard to get away from seniors in their fall semester and juniors and sophomores and freshmen intentionally failing things because it's too hard and it's not worth the effort in order for them to be able to take an Edgenuity course and finish that quickly and pay for that. So we've kind of hunkered down on what we expect as far as credit recovery, because that should sting a little bit. It should sting a little bit, because the alternative is very, very simple. The alternative is just you come to school, we will get you through. So attendance, number one problem. We are trying to change the narrative for credit recovery, and it's been a tough transition. It's been hard because that previously during COVID, and I know we keep continuing to go back to COVID, but we made life extremely easy on students during COVID. We made life extremely easy on parents during COVID. And so we're back to normal. We are back to, if you show up, you're gonna pass. If you don't, there's gonna be consequences for that, and you're going to have to dig yourself out of that. We are not going to dig you out of that. So those are what I would say the two leading things. It is not a lack of resources. It is not a lack of teacher availability, because I have a senior teacher here that is here 4 days a week, every day after school, for anybody who will come. And on average, we don't get that many seniors. You know what I mean? And we're giving them opportunities and opportunities. So the transition has been hard. The accountability transition has been hard, but we're gonna get there. Yes, sir.
Is that teacher here?
She is.
You know I'm gonna hear you. Don't be scared. Throw your gum away.
Hi, Miss Crawford.
Hello,
Hi,
Ms.
Ms.
Crawford.
Let's see, I was gonna say, I don't think I have any former students here, but I have lots of parents.
You'll talk to them later, right?
You taught your principal?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And vice principal and vice principal.
Oh, wow.
All right, yes.
That's amazing.
That's scary. So tell us, give us a good picture of what you're seeing. Help us understand our kids.
Yeah, as you said, the attendance and just getting them back on track. You know, we really are coming out of COVID still. And so they're making progress and we're hustling. I got here after helping a student today, so hopefully please forward. We're chugging, we're making progress. We just maybe need the help. Support.
How many of them have transportation problems?
I would say actually with district transportation, especially with the USTA days, that is definitely helping. Those that are really wanting to do it are finding a way to be here. So it's not as bad as it was.
How many students do you actually have at the start of the year?
That number are we talking just seniors? You're gonna talk to everybody?
Just seniors.
The seniors, I would say 50 to 60 students start in credit recovery at the beginning of their senior year.
I did have a couple of students return from last year and they have been pulling it together. It's sad that she's not gonna get credit for that graduation rate, but they will be pretty good as well. So they're the 5th-year seniors and they've been working with us, at least on my side.
And Ms. Hadley, to kind of address that, those 50 to 60 students, when you look at their transcripts on a grand level, they take that freshman year, all of them. I mean, we're looking at not one class here, one class here, one class here. We're looking at a complete semester of nothing but Fs.
So Mrs. Elkins,
Yes.
what is your graduation, your projected graduation percentage
The
now?
rate, 96 is what we're presenting if I'm right now today, 96.
Thank you.
Yes.
And do you do transcript checks, like every 2 weeks, every?
So,
Yeah, I guess with the cohort part
administratively,
anyway.
we don't start doing those heavily until about Christmas break. The SSAs are expected to keep up on those bi-weekly and just check and make sure. They're doing grade checks bi-weekly, they're pulling the F reports. They are trying to intervene in any way that they can. So now, like I said, we're at crunch time. We are meeting every single week with the senior SSA and administration to go through those heavily and just make sure.
Thank you. Is there anything else? Because I believe we have another principal to hear from.
The only thing I would say is these guys were the cohort ones, right? These ones were the freshmen, they were the COVID freshmen, the cohort.
And so they were 7th and 8th graders during that.
Or ninth graders. The ones graduating now were 2020?
So they were
Am I wrong or right? I'm trying to figure that out.
So they were 7th, 8th graders coming into 9th grade, and I think that transition was tough for them. It was tough.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Mr. Whitehead.
We do have our principal from Laguna Acoma High School. It's my pleasure to turn the floor over to Mr. Jackie Sanchez.
Good morning, President, board members, superintendent, directors, thank you guys so much for having me here. Walked in just in time, actually, I could have sat in the truck for another 5 minutes and finished the song I was listening to, but. Anyway, so last time I reported to you, we had 37 on track, we have a total of 40 seniors. And to explain the difference, we had 43 in the cohort. 3 of those students are still in the junior cohort, so they won't graduate. They've been in that cohort since like their sophomore year because they fell behind their freshman year. So they will remain with that cohort moving forward on the next year. So cohort wise, we have 43 students. Starting school year, we had 40 students, and that's where we're at right now. And of those 40 students, 3 of them will not graduate. One transferred late after January, came to us very far behind on credits. For personal circumstances, she had to take some time off from school and is still trying to catch up. Me and Ms. Alkins worked with her really hard to try and get her there, but it's just, you know, the hole's just too deep. So she's gonna come back next year and finish off. We've already got her plan, we've already got her schedule ready for next year. We met with her several times and her significant other, and so we're ready to graduate her next year. The other 2 students, I'm happy to say, have really made progress. Looks like they're both gonna graduate, so that puts us at about a 97% graduation rate from what we have. Both those students, with using USTA, plus we have our registrar who does after they stay till 5, and she tries to help with attendance, so if they get in that tier 4 attendance, she stays late so they can make it their hours. We utilize that time for them to stay after, so they stay 2 days a week with Usta, two days a week with Ms. Salazar to get caught up on their ingenuity and those kind of things. It's paid off. So those two of those students are gonna graduate. It's gonna be very close for one of them, but we met with them consistently. We've done, so far, I was looking at it before I came in here, we've done 4 transcript reviews with our parents and students. SSA set up appointments. They have an online appointment generator. The parents come in, they meet with them, they go over the transcript. Parents sign the transcripts that they review with them. So if they're borderline or not gonna make it on track, then they're aware. And so we have to say, well, what did you guys do? We keep good documentation. My SSA do a great job of documenting where everybody's at. With those 2 students, one of them didn't have a lot of home support, so it took the family of the school to really get him going. Last year, we didn't think he was going to come back to school this year. And we got him there, and actually, the tribe, we did home visits. We had the, Ms. Joe from probation office did home visits. So we really hounded this student just to get him to school. Actually, they could have dropped him a couple times. They admit their 10 days. We should have dropped this student, but we didn't want to give up on him. It was like, it's going to pay off. So we really have only one student that's not going to graduate with us this year. And so I think we're going to be, we're successful. And I would like to give all the credit to my SSA because they've done a great job of working with those parents and having those interviews. It really made a difference. We never did this intensively in the past, but having those transcript reviews over and over and over and over again really kept the parents accountable too, because parents sometimes have that attitude, well, they're a senior, they're responsible for themselves. We're gonna let them be responsible, but they're still kids. Even our 18-year-olds are still kids in their minds sometimes. And I think the doctor said it perfectly. We're still dealing with that COVID recovery and holding their hand through life. And so we're still going through that. But I'm proud to say that, like I said, the SSAs have done a wonderful job. Me and the SSAs meet once a week, every Friday, to go over everything that we're doing. And this Friday, we have a career college, not a college career, a career college event going on at the school. We have 58 presenters coming to the school from all over Albuquerque, all over Laguna, all over Grants, all the law enforcement entities. Our school district is gonna have a booth there to try and bring people into our school. One of the things that we're doing with this, and sorry I'm taking an opportunity to tell you guys about this, but I'm very excited about it. And it's like I said, it's Friday, and please come by and take a look. But Laguna Elementary and Laguna Middle School are bringing their students over to do a tour through it as well. And this is our opportunity to start recruiting those Laguna kids to start coming to Laguna Acma High School and not go to the other tribal schools in the area. And maybe take some of that load off Miss Alfie. She has a lot on her plate. So maybe we can take some of those students that live out in our community to come out to our school. That's kind of my goal. It's not still from her, but kind of take some of that weight off of her and help her out a little bit. You guys are welcome to come by. It starts at 8 o'clock, it goes till 5 o'clock. Our students go in the morning, Laguna tribal students come in the afternoon, and then community goes till 5. So again, this is one of those successful things that we're seeing. This year we have a lot of students that have applied for scholarships that we didn't apply for. We have more students doing the Matthew scholarship that we didn't have last year. We have students doing we have 6 more students that applied today for the hospital scholarship. So we're applying for more of those local scholarships than we ever have. So, and that comes from those transcript reviews. You get the parents in there, we try and load them with as much information and as much opportunities for them as possible. We had very few kids who wanted to go to college, and so our stance on that is your decisions change over the summer. You graduate, you think you're done, you think, I think I want to try it, or you didn't apply. So our stance is apply no matter what. Even if you're going to go work at the Dairy Queen down the street, apply for college anyway. So that's what we're doing. We've been great things that we've been asking. I'm very excited about where we're at. It's great. Come on, visit us, please.
Mr. Sanchez?
Friday. Yes, ma'am.
My hope is that you keep the kids from going to Santa Fe and Naka. Give them the option of staying home.
Our enrollment has really come a bit. We've got a lot from Naka and from Santa Fe Indian School. And so we're really trying to pull those students back in and get them to stay within the community. And the reputation within the community has really turned around for us. And with concept of what they thought Laguna Acton was all about. And a lot of it is those open houses we have when we get out and come in and walk to the campus. We're taking, in fact, the middle school kids as they come in, we're taking them to the CTE classrooms. They're gonna go meet the students. The welding students are gonna tour them the welding shop. The electronic students are gonna take them through the electronics lab. Then we have the middle school, we build it better. The middle school students are gonna show them what they do in that elective. So we're really gonna push our CTE to try and entice those students. We're setting up our dissection table. That's gonna be part of our event, is having that when they first walk in so they can see that.
We're really excited about this partnership with Laguna Department of Education and the Pueblo, and it's gonna be great. It's gonna be a great event if you have the chance to go by Friday.
Superintendent Subin from the department has been really supportive, and so we really built a big bridge with her. So we're excited to have her part of us, and she supports us. She wants to see our students come, those students come to us as well.
Stay.
Any questions?
Thank you so much, Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you, guys.
Wonderful report today.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Can I ask one more?
Of course.
Do you have any what numbers do you have in your credit recovery?
In credit recovery, well, we've had a lot finished since the last time we reported, so right now, I think we've only got about 4 left in there. A lot of them have completed their credit recovery. The only ones that are in there for sure is the one student that we know is not gonna graduate until next year, and 2 of the other students that, were on the borderline, they're finishing up the recovery. We have one of the ones that's he's on track. He's got to finish the class.
Do you do, checks even with their freshmen every year?
Not the one-on-one like we do with our seniors. I guess that's something we could probably look into. It's just our SSAs are really busy. We always focus on our seniors. And actually, let me take that back. At mid-year, they start looking at the juniors so we can start building their schedule for the next year. Freshman and sophomore, probably not as intensive as we could.
I think I asked, I remember one year, I was teaching ELA and I had a senior come to beg me to take, because he had failed freshman English and he wasn't gonna graduate. And I didn't have any classes for seniors, so he was a senior sitting in my freshman English class with a bag over his head because he was so embarrassed that he was sitting, he was pretty old and sitting with 12 and 13-year-olds.
When we started the school year, it's interesting you said that, because when we started the school year, we went back to make sure we did have quite a few students that failed their freshman algebra class, and they're in algebra 2 in their junior year, and like, wait a minute, no wonder you're struggling in algebra 2, you failed English your freshman year, we never got you in the right class, so they really, even though they didn't meet with the students, they really did do transcript reviews with them to make sure everybody's caught up, so we're not playing catch up at the last minute, because that is hard for a student. I can't imagine being algebra 2 and you don't have the foundation that you need.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you guys all
Sanchez.
very much. Have a good evening.
Mr. Wagner.
All right, at this time, Dr. Martin is back with more information about Physics in a Box. He vetted the curriculum and the projects, the boxes with the teacher group, held workshops on April 2nd, and will report out the data that has come from the teachers looking at Physics in a Box. Dr. Martin?
Madam President, members of the board, Mr. Superintendent, last April 2nd, as recommended by the board, we set up, we made Physics in a Box a part of the one of the PDs. One of the PDs during that time is a science fair PD that teachers that trains elementary teachers and secondary teachers alike on how to be part of science fair and all the procedures they have to go through in order for them to be eligible to compete in a science fair. And that's this, in the same room we set up Physics in a Box, the mechanics box in particular. So the 2 other boxes are there as well, but we asked the 2 presenters during that time to focus on just the mechanics box because that's what we are usually intending to purchase for the entire district. And as you can see, those who attended the science fair training, and witnessed the presentation by Anatoly and Mr. Tripp, responded to this survey. And out of the 23 science teacher respondents, 100% of them agreed that, or said yes to the question, do you think this equipment will be useful to your school site? And in your packets, there are comments that they included in their responses as well. And here are a few
We don't
of
have
them.
the comments.
So those are a few examples of the comments.
We don't have the comments.
I can go there.
Would you mind?
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, so
Jackie, you're gonna make copies?
let me just read a few examples of the comments. Very helpful and very convenient to both teachers and students. It is very encouraging. It allows manipulation and visualization for students. It is really physics in a box. We should be in all schools immediately. This brings back accountability fun and hands-on learning without the pressure of test scores. What a great curriculum. I think our students need to be more integrated in science and math concepts. We are needing this in our classrooms, and many more similar comments from science teachers and non-science teachers alike who were able to witness the presentation coming from Mr. Gary Tripp and Anatoly, I forgot his last name. Yeah.
Dr. Anatoly.
They really did a great presentation in which everyone appreciated. And lastly, the last slide are more comments. Hopefully we can have it in our school site because it can be used as practical educational tools to demonstrate various physics concepts. The integration and connection with other subjects is awesome. And finally, the last one is perfect for teachers and students. So overwhelmingly, when we did the principal survey, a majority of them felt this equipment will be very useful for their school sites as well, and this is just another set of data that will support that particular survey that we did prior to this work, to this. K through 12.
So out of a total population that would benefit or use this program, what's that number and versus the 21 responses? So we had 100 people that are going to be involved in this. You only get 21 responses, that's a little negative.
We expected more responses, but during that time, a lot of our teachers were in the SEL teams training that they're mandated to attend as a school site. A lot of them were in the PECS training, because that's mandatory for our special ed teachers as well. So pretty much those that were able to attend the presentation by Gary Tripp and Anatoly were science teachers who were not mandated to attend any during that time. Yes, they're science teachers. 23. Yes, they're all science teachers. In a number of our elementary schools, science is departmentalized, like Milan Elementary and Mount Taylor and Mesa View. So in those particular schools, 5th and 6th grade science teachers, there's only 1 or 2 of them. And so we have science teachers from Laguna Acoma during Laguna Acoma High School during that time as well. Mr. Saya is a science teacher from Milan. So it's a representation of science teachers from different schools.
Dr. Martin, if I may, Ms. Daly, I attended the PD day, and two of the presentations made specifically for this. And there were three different schools that said directly, we would love nothing more than to have this in the school. We will be the guinea pigs if you can get this to us, because they were so excited about the possibilities. And one of the things I think that hasn't really been talked about enough is the teacher support that this program offers. So the presenters told all of the teachers through many questions that there is 24-hour, 7-day-a-week support for this curriculum. And each box comes with grade appropriate curriculum to the amount of 100 lessons per box. So the teachers are not having to use their planning time to come up with the lessons. It's provided for them. And then if they have questions, they get to go and ask questions, and other teachers, the people who've created this program, get back to the teacher asking the question within 24 hours, so that there is absolute 100% support. I have not heard from anybody in the district on that day that this is a negative thing. This is only positive from what I have seen. And as a board member, I would recommend that we jump on the possibilities here because of what is provided for the teachers in the district and therefore the students in the district. Thank you for letting me jump in. Dr. Martin, I apologize.
That's one great thing about this academy, the professional development it offers and the number of lessons, pre-made lessons that are included in the kit. So there's only benefits that our students can get from this.
Agreed.
Thank you very much.
One more question. So if you implement this program, how much before training are you gonna offer to the teachers that when you apply? And the reason I ask is that we make decisions like, when I was a teacher, they changed it to Power School. We had half the morning training in the program. I don't want to see that happen with something that's expensive or something that's time consuming.
Thank you for your question, ma'am. Like I said, it's a PD packed equipment. When we purchase it, PD is available as soon as. So it's they'll be on call. They can do PDs with our teachers prior to each lesson. So that's a promise that that this equipment, purchasing this equipment brings with it. So
So can they provide on-site PD?
they can as well. And they're on call and
It's Mr. Tripp said that there would be 3 days of training in person available for implementing.
and then there can be a weekly training prior to each lesson. That's available in the box.
3 days in-person training and on-site training if they're an aspect of it they don't understand, they can come out and do.
The weekly training, those might be virtual.
Yes.
But for sure, there's a three-day in-person training that comes to the box.
And this is all included in the price
Yes.
of the training and equipment as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Madam President, thank you. Tell me how it connects to the standards, science standards, and that is set forth by the state.
The state uses the national, the NGSS standards. And this particular thing, they pretty much align to the mechanics side of the NGSS standards, physics standards, that is physical science. And they as we all know, science relates to math, and you know that which is the beauty of the whole thing, because these experiments that the box contains are pretty much hands-on activities that our students can have for them, not only to grasp the NGSS standards in physical science, but also relate those particular experiments to math concepts they learn in the classroom. And all that.
When you say that it connects and aligns, what are the plans of the district to examine our current science program and how it will fit into the instructional sequence that occurs? That would be important for those teachers. They have to know of all the standards that there are, that these will address a certain set of standards. So they would have to have the district help them understand where in all the standards, how do they sequence the instruction of the science standards, and where does this fit in for the respective grades? I think that's what they would probably want to know, is when are they gonna use it, so that they can begin to plan their PD that you're talking about. There's life science and so forth, you know.
So at the secondary level, there won't be any issue aligning it to whatever science courses they teach, because we have physical science, physics, and all that. At the elementary level, right off the bat, what I can pick up is supplementary instruction to whatever they're teaching in science. We'll forever have or after school programs where this can be used for. I know this can also be used by teachers who want to supplement whatever math instruction they're having, so they can provide hands-on experiences for their students, like measurement. Measurement is one thing that they can use this for as a supplement, and I'm pretty sure that the science curriculum for the elementary level has a physical science side to it as well, which this could be used for as a supplement.
As well as history and ELA, it ties into, because many of the lessons, like in the presentation that I emailed all of the board members about this program a while ago, it talks about how these lessons are provided, and in those lessons, there's history that's provided. And then the ELA side of it comes with looking up definitions of words and learning how to do that. And like what Dr. Martin was saying with the supplemental, the measurement, the actual getting the hands-on, and the two presenters that we had were fantastic, because they indicated that even if we started as a district in third grade adding one lesson a week, we would be getting on average 30 lessons a year added. And the data that they show nationally for districts and schools that start adding this, the math and science and ELA scores are improving in the state testing. And they have the data, and they shared that with us. And I believe it's in that slide presentation that I shared with all of the board members.
If you guys look at it, it's in there.
What I'm especially encouraging is that we help the teachers and the principals know how and when they're going to utilize this in their science curriculum. And that some teachers need a little bit more guidance than others who get really deep into it and want to get started right away. But you're going to find others who may who may need a little coaching or who would find that the schools have a plan of how to use it in a productive, systematic, consistent way. I get scared when we give it to them in the years gone by, and then next thing you know, it doesn't work. So I can hear you saying that there will be professional development. I guess I was going back to the foundation of what is it we're going to have them learn? When are they going to learn it? Those are the first basic things that they want to see. They'll see that kit there, whatever it is. Then they know their science curriculum. They'll want to know with the principals, when are we going to use this? And get themselves ready to do that. That's what I'm saying. So you've got life science and you have all the other sciences. And each level has a different emphasis. As you said, in the high school, it's by courses. So it's a bit easier for that to occur. And I think with older kids, as we heard from the science fair kids, is that hands-on applications are really create a lot of interest and motivation. And our responsibility is to make sure that we organize and plan these things well so that they can launch into these things constructively. I don't have any recent experience in science instruction, but I remember we spent in the last 20 years a lot of effort on ELA and math. And so a lot of our instructional time was devoted to literacy. And so you would even require X amount of time. So how much time is going to be set aside for science learning? That's something that would be very helpful for us to begin to plan, so they'll know what it is we're going to do. And they can tell, the teachers can tell us, this is how we think it can play out. Because they're going to be able to see that the kids are going to be spending more hands-on time and morally conceptualizing these things, manipulating these things. And, but they need to recognize it's not going to cover all aspects of their curriculum. It's going to be certain parts of it. That's what they need to see. That's all. Thank you.
One more question, I'm sorry. 45 kids, how is that going to be? How many kids do each kid function around, and then how many teachers do you have that are going to get individual kits, or are you going to have to split it apart?
Our plan was, because this was just the initial, this is an initial purchase, pretty much we're testing the kits out, and maybe in the future, if it's something that works really well, we can consider, or again, go to the board and suggest another purchase. But Ms. Jones and I discussed about this, and 45 we will pretty much distribute proportionally to each of the sites, because one kid can be used by a group of kids. So from 2 to 5 kids per kid in a classroom. So our idea was to give them a set, like sort of a classroom set that they can use with their kids, group work type of activity for them to experience the hands-on aspect of whatever science concept or math concept.
So each school site will
And
have.
each school site will have a number of, certain number of kids proportional to the number of students in that particular site.
Dr. Martin, can I add to the implementation that Dr. Guy was asking? Typically, when we have a new curriculum, and speaking as a former principal, if this would come to our campus and our teachers would be trained, we would sit in that training, and during that time, we would get our DLPs to see exactly where as you said, in the scope and sequence for that we would plan that instruction. And so during the pre-planning time, it's so important to have that laid out through the school year so that we could ensure that our teachers are effectively using new materials if it's a cost, and making sure that our students receive that instruction. And so that's typically how it's been done in the past, and I suspect that it'll continue to happen that way, that those discussions, that planning will happen prior to instruction. And I hope that might clear that question.
If you go to Cabello, there's a teacher there that uses the WEIB robots to
Yes.
teach her math course. So that's an example of
Something new.
yeah, of something new that the teachers bring in the classroom. that
Wonderful.
Teacher, that's.
Yes. It's not that I'm not supportive. I want success. Success comes if you plan and prepare, and design it in such a way, and you also have an evaluation system in which you evaluate its success, which then leads you to a go or no-go decision in future, considerations. So that's the point. And so backward designing, you're talking about your school day, August something. Backward designing, all this planning and preparing, getting all the kinks out, making sure that you might have a little teacher team who works with you guys to say, okay, how we're gonna do it. And then they'll, the more you get them involved with that pre-planning and pre-prep, the more likely it's gonna succeed.
It's essential
Yeah, thank
for
you.
all teachers to pre-plan.
One other question, did I hear that just require or just like to higher math courses? They have to have greater math courses or?
Not really, these are mechanics boxes. They're most of them are simple experiments like mass and acceleration and gravity and yeah.
So it's not going to require, the reason I think of physics, it's also part of our math program. If the kids at one school haven't had physics, then these kids are gonna do the, because they'll be struggling to understand
When we
the
get
math.
to relativity and quantum physics, that's
We'll leave that to the fourth graders.
I just wanna make, cause I know that at the other schools still pushing out the higher math courses that they have here at Grant High School. And that is my concern, they can't function, even with having the kid and having the lesson like all the way out to the, if the kids don't have the aptitude for that math, then it's not going to work for them.
Yes.
Science is always, no, I don't want to put it this way.
Just basically, you understand science.
Well, I mean, here,
Science is, science has always taken a backseat for many years. This would build a clear relationship between science fair or scientific investigation, study, the scientific method, all that stuff.
just your general
And so
creativity
they'll
of the
then be able
student.
to maybe even make use of their activities in a science project. Is what I could see. And it makes it easier if the kids are doing science. This is my professional jargon, doing science.
Yes,
They may then decide they want to do science fair project.
absolutely.
Or break
It's
up
a great,
attendance.
it's a great
Or want to come to
opportunity.
class
Come
because they
to
want to work
school
on a science
because
project.
it's fun.
It is fun, and what we were given, as a display was applicable from third grade all the way through, senior year. And the lessons are there grade appropriate. And so the question about math, it's not that they're having to do higher math to complete these problems. They're having an opportunity to learn how to apply the math with science.
Well, it's-
And so
yeah.
it's,
the 4 basic operations in math. That's all it is.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
so that's what you use in your science math.
Right.
Mr. Weiner, I'm a little slow, but I like to try to think carefully. I just think that we cannot expend more money until we see how it works. And
Well, we've
and so-
actually had several opportunities
I know.
to see how it works,
And so what I'm saying is that by doing it in a sort of a experimental approach, we can then see if it's going to be viable. But in the end, it basically is gonna give kids an opportunity to manipulate and seeing things scientifically from a concrete perspective.
Dr. Martin, thank you so much. We appreciate all of this information, and it's a very exciting opportunity for our students.
So long as you know that the preparation and planning has to
Mr.
be-
Widener.
Mr. Weiner and I are really vested in this particular tool. We're
Sorry
also
for interrupting.
discussing about a district-wide STEM course.
We're learning about it, so.
Yes.
Madam President, I'm ready to move on.
So that was why Mr. Widener.
Well, I bet you guys are really excited because we have 3 more presentations and they're about money and budget and all the fun stuff. So without, well, we have 2 budget and then we have my presentation.
Your presentation.
So,
Got it.
but Mr. Maldonado is going to talk about our Q2 cash report and present that information. And then we will get into the budget draft building process. Mr. Maldonado.
Good evening, Mr. Madam President, board members, Mr. Superintendent. Yes, this is the exciting part. We get to share about, as you know, we have to produce our quarterly cash report every quarter. The one that we have in your packet is for Q2 of the fiscal year, which is October, November, and December. We're working on Q3, which is due at the end of this month. For the purpose of, do you not have the cash report? We have a copy if you want.
We've got it.
It's
in presentations after
science.
physics in a box.
So the purpose of the cash report is to give a snapshot of all the various funds that we manage throughout the year. I'm going to, of course, as I usually do when I present this, focus on the 11,000 operational account because that's where all the money flows through. Instead of going through all these different funds, all the money comes into the 11,000 fund. We then parcel it out to all of the federal funds as well. So here, if you look at line 7 on there, line 7, it says, and column E, so look at E7, kind of like bingo, E7, you'll see that our operational account, 11,000, we started that quarter with $16,240,000 in the bank. Anyone see that? That's the cash that we had. Line 9 shows the amount of money that came in that quarter, $21 million. That's mostly through our SEG, our state equalization guarantee, as well as some other federal funds, mostly coming in through the SEG and other funds. So our total for that income resources for that date of 12/31 was $37,561,000. If you look at line 15, it says line 5 rates. Line 15 on your spreadsheet, or line 5, okay. You don't see the Excel, you're looking at this one, right? So line 5, look at line 5 on your spreadsheet. It shows a deficit of 18,633,000. Everyone see that? That's how much money we spent during that quarter. So line 1 of your sheet shows the money that we started with. Line 2 of that sheet shows how much money came in. And then line 4 is the total of the money that came in. Line 5 shows the money that went out for all the various expenditures. And then line 7 is the amount of cash that's attributed to the district at that particular point in time at 12/31/2023. And that amount is $18,927,000. Now, that is not money that is in the bank for us to spend on operations. That's money that is in the bank that we then have to parcel out for the capital, all the other things that we do. So most of that money is in the bank in operations, and some of it has to go out. And let's look at the line below that, line 8, which shows payroll liabilities. At that particular time, we had payroll liabilities of $3,580. And then we had adjustments made by a variety of accounting issues of $5,522. You look at line 10, the total reconciled cash is $18,918,000. So then what do we do with that? Line number 11. So remember I told you before that money comes into our operating account, or we spend it based on the federal funds. So we were essentially loaning to these federal funds the money until we do our RFR or our request for reimbursement. So right now, at that particular time, at 12/31, we had $4 million out in loans. And because we cannot have any fund in a negative balance, that money that we take, we move it from our operating account into all these various other accounts that are in deficit to make them whole, right? And then we get it back when we do the RFRs, and that money comes back in and we reconcile. So it's a constant reconciliation event. But suffice to say, at the end of 12/31, we had line 12 on your report sheet, $14,892,651,000.57. Now, I won't go through all of the other lines. You can see them yourself on how much money came in. If you just follow that same sort of walk through, how much did we start with, how much came in, how much went out, what adjustments we have, and then how much we have left at the end of that particular month. You can see that, right? So let's go all the way down, scroll down, and you will see, for example, the capital outlay. So remember, capital is different than operational. Operational is like your checking account. Money comes in, you spend it on things, it goes out, you pay for all the daily routine things of running the district, paying all the payroll taxes and all that. The capital is how much you set aside for buildings or capital things over $5,000, all the things that it takes to equip the school for the work of what we do with students, right? So that's very separate than the operational. And you'll see that when we walk through the budget. It's very important to understand the distinction between the two. So again, in our capital, we look at the amount of money we have in that. So column E, row, let's see, column E, line number 1, and column E on that second one. Way down where it says public school capital outlay, the fund number is 31,200. Do you see that? Not if you do, please.
We're on the same page, front page?
No, we're in the second page. It's at the top of the page, capital outlay, 31,200.
I see it.
Okay, page 2 of your paper. You can look up here and see if you want.
I can't see in either place. I have, I need new glasses. That's my only problem.
Yeah, it's small, right?
Yep.
This is the money that we use for buildings, special allocations that we get, things like that. And so it's used for money. You know, we don't have to spend all this money in the same year. It carries over. So it's not like we have to exhaust these funds every year. We have to, this is long-term planning, so that all the capital funds are that way. You recall that we got a special allocation from the PSFA of $870,000 that we're going to be using, coming to you to do furniture refresh, for example. This is money that comes in through special allocations in those capital outlay funds. That's where we record all of that. So again, it's too much to go through on a regular basis. If you want a bigger copy, I'm going to give you this one. It's easier to read than the teeny tiny one. No, it's this one right here.
Mr. Blind Guy. My goodness.
Yeah, much better, right?
I got 2 glasses. I need a third one.
So essentially, we go through this. Now let's go down to where it says GO bond 41,000 fund. That's column G on, I don't know which page, but column G, 41,000 fund. You can see this is the bond money that comes in that we're using to build pay our share of the school funds, okay, the new schools. So a lot of money coming in, we reserve a lot of it because we have a lot of money going out. You'll see that especially when we have Mesa View coming up and Mount Taylor, we'll see a lot of money going out, right? So it's really, really important to have the perspective that, and you'll see this when we get to our budget for this next year, the draft, that having money carried over in cash balances carries us through the more difficult periods of a school life, right? Right now, we've been squirreling money away because we have it to squirrel away, which is good because it's going to carry us through a very, what I consider, lean year coming up in the budget. Anyway, so you can go through this, and this cash report has to be reconciled with the PED. The very last line of the spreadsheet shows a balance, cash balance of $44,371,629.52. That's the last line of the spreadsheet. The remainder of the stuff below that is just, we have to demonstrate that we've reconciled our various bank accounts, things like that. And if you look at that last line of the bank account reconciliation, you can see it matches the last line of the spreadsheet. So we've reconciled 100%, that's the goal.
So let me ask you, the last time we were in Santa Fe, we got called in because we had a large cash balance.
So the cash balance, you ask me this question every single time, and I want to make sure that I'm explaining it as well as I can. A large cash balance doesn't mean that we have it to spend all at once, or that we're just sitting on it doing nothing with it. The cash balance funds the capital that we have, and that's why we have to keep it. So I could be, for example, you could come to my house and look at my bank account, and let's say I have $5,000 in my checking account. I wish I did. I have $5,000 in my checking account and $30,000 in my savings account. One could say, oh my gosh, Steve, you're hoarding money, you've got $35,000. Well, the $30,000 is for building the things that I need, or making sure that I'm funding my kids' education, making sure that I save for a rainy day, those kinds of things. It's not something that we should ever be ashamed of, because a lot of school districts don't have that. They live paycheck to paycheck. They live SEG distribution to SEG distribution. We never, ever want to be in that position. It would be fiduciarily irresponsible for us to get into that position and to expend money for the sake of expending money so that we didn't look like we had too much of a cash. This money is going to be required next year, you'll see, because the SEG for next year is almost $4 million less than what we got this year. So here's a perfect example of when that cash balance, dipping into that cash balance, is going to carry us through so that we're not having to reduce the types of services so that we can afford to spend money on the physics in a box, for example. It's a perfect example of how that money translates into these students who are doing wonderfully. If we want more students to participate in science, for example, or any FFA, we have to invest in that money. Here's an opportunity for us to take that cash balance, put it towards these students without them having to suffer. That's a perfect example of how that cash balance rescues us from having to cut services.
Okay, Mr. Ronald, I understand that, but having to sit before a state finance committee and trying to, that maybe they might not be as traditionally, educated either. It's hard to sit there and have them come back and tell, why do you keep that cash balance? There has to be some way that we can, get a report, something that shows that, like we talked about at that meeting, that a lot of that is encumbered, or a lot of that is, saved for, and we have all these projects that are coming up. And I just don't wanna have to sit through another cut down from the finance committee because they think that that's too hard. And you
I
can
was in front
explain
of that
away-
same committee. I was there. It was not pretty. And I sat through the audit that they did a couple months before, asking me the same, I'm just gonna say this, the same ridiculous questions over and over again. It showed to me that they did not have a clear understanding of how cash balances work. And when I share the information with my counterparts from other school districts, Consolidated was Central Consolidated was there, but other districts as well. They have the same criticism from the Legislative Finance Committee that you have too much cash, because they think that the minute you get an allocation to money, that you should spend it immediately without a plan. You guys spend a lot of time talking today about the science plan, right? The same questions that you ask. We want to make sure that we have a plan for how we spend this money, that we're not just writing a check to do this and do that just for the sake of expending it. So they have a lot to learn as well, and it was not a pretty sight. I did not appreciate the things that they accused us of and all of that, but I will stand firm in my conviction, and I hope that you will join me in that conviction that we are doing the right thing with this money. Period. There should be no reason to explain away why we have this balance, because we owe it to our kids, we owe it to our community to be able to have this money to invest in the future, not just spend it every year to exhaust it so that we're living hand to mouth next year.
Thank you.
Madam President, just to, Mr. Maldonado, you mentioned, that there needs to be a plan to spend the cash balance at the time that it will deserve to be spent. So that's the board's plan that you and Mr. Widener will present to us down the road. Am I correct? And so when would we start to hear of that plan in a bit more concrete ways in the future?
I would submit, Dr. Ashenbaugh, that we have been doing that ever since I started in this role. The plan is not to spend $10 million in 1 year. The plan is to come up with and you've heard me talk about a cash plan for years, talking about how we're going to use this money in year 3, in year 4, in year 5. Now, the really good thing that the board did in the last few years was put together a strategic plan. That helps to drive that's the engine that drives where we put the money, right? And I'll give you a perfect example of something that was driven by the PED without a plan that we worked on without the PED help. And I'll talk about the at-risk and the gifted program. 2 years ago, Jennifer and I sat down and we said, we're waiting for the PED to give us information on how to address the Yazzie Martinez issues about at-risk and gifted and all that. They had nothing. They came with nothing. Nothing. I'm talking nothing. We sat down and we said we're going to put $175,000 into the gifted program because we really need to shore that up. We're going to put more money into special education because it was a mess, and so we had to really shore that up. Ms. Jones and I sat on a conference call 2 weeks ago with the Deputy Secretary of PED. We specifically asked her, what are your plans to tell us what your objectives are for addressing Yazzie Martinez? You know what, basically they said, we got nothing, you guys had to come up with it yourselves. We're not gonna wait for that. We already started working on that. So that's driven by the strategic plan. And I go back to when we first did the surveys on how to spend the money in the ESSER funds. We did a lot of surveys. We had, 30 community meetings, whatever it was. They gave us clear direction. We need help with mental health. We need help with at-risk kids. We need transportation. I think we named all of them. We're addressing all of those issues. So that's where cash comes in to address those issues. If you remember, the SEG, 71% of it pays for salaries and benefits, right? Which leaves 29% of it to turn the lights on and to do things around the campuses and the operations of it. So a very small sliver of that is money that we're using in other areas to address the Yazzie Martinez and other at-risk. But I go on and on. So the plan is always in the works, Dr. We've been doing that. Now I'll share with you some of the issues that we're going to be facing in the next budget year. But we have not changed our direction. We've been following the strategic plan. We're in the last days or the last years of that. I would submit that it's not time to make any big changes right now because you have seen the benefit in the last few board meetings of the people coming here winning awards over the last 5 years, people coming here attending conferences that they've never done before. And here's an opportunity for us to see the achievement in the last 5 years, and we're going to see even more of that in the next few years. Any questions about the cash report?
More to come, but later.
We're gonna bring that.
It's
I'm
always
sorry?
gonna be. I said, what more to come, because we need to continue to be understanding of all of this. It is complex. And so that's one of the things that we will always be apprised of as we go through this every year. Cash balances, cash reports, and all of this. It's not, doesn't end. We'll be here again next year and we'll be reviewing it, and you just need to help us learn patiently, teaching us how this all plays out.
Yeah, just remember, cash is not a 4-letter word. It's a good word. It really is. All right, I'm gonna bring up the 910 through 510. You should have a copy of this in your handout. It looks like this. It's just one little thing. It's 2 pages. You don't have it. I'll bring it up on the screen.
Yes, they have it.
We do.
I don't know that he has it in that one, but it's, yeah,
Here, hurry up.
yes, this, that packet, the page before is
It looks like this is
starting there.
Yeah, I see this. This is the
910 form. So this is a critical form that the PED uses to gauge how much money we're going to get in these state equalization guarantee. It's based mostly on membership and the type of membership. How many kids are enrolled, what kinds of kids are enrolled, what ages they are. Remember we talked about this the last time when I did a presentation? But this is the preliminary SEG calculation that the state sent to us a couple days ago. So I will tell you, if you look at if you look at the green part of the upper left, where it says basic program includes A, B, C, and C gifted, D, and D gifted. It's green, right? The green section, and right at the bottom of the top green section, it says total FTENEM. That's how many full-time equivalent enrollees we have in the district according to the PED. Now we predicted another 230 on top of this. We predicted 3,200 and some, 3,240 kids. Now, I heard you ask the principals about what is affecting kids not graduating, what's affecting them going into having to take prep recovery, and time again, they mentioned attendance. Attendance has a direct effect on this 910 decline. It has a direct effect. It's not just a little bit of an effect, it has a direct effect. Had these kids come on those days that we counted, this number would be much higher. But they don't come. So when we met, for example, with the IPAC meeting, I don't know, 3-4 months ago, and I made a presentation 4 months ago on the budget and how it's worked. Now, I told them specifically, you as parents, you as community leaders, everyone, that what you can do best for your students is to get them in class, because that means more money for the district and more money for them. If you can't do that, this is the direct effect. So we have a reduction in the SEG every month. So that's money taken out of our ability to spend with the students. How do we replace that? I go to that old cash balance again and bring that over, and that's how we keep the level of services going. Now I'm gonna direct you all the way down to the bottom of that, on the second page, all the way down to the bottom.
Can I come in for a second?
Yes, of course.
I want to make sure I put this note on here, on the front page here. This is how we can use the, let's see if I'm right, cash balance to address the reduction in the of the total FTE mem.
Of the SEG, of the money. that-
322.
I'm sorry?
It's 322, which is total FTE and membership, right?
3,000.
3,000. Okay, can't see. So that, your conversation with those parents was addressing that.
Yes.
And I was trying to put down your comment, your statement, to make sure I understood that the cash balance helps us address the
Absolutely.
reduction.
Yes. It augments those things that are
Augments,
not
ameliorates
being
it,
paid for through the SCG.
It helps us get past.
Absolutely, you're
Thank you.
absolutely right, sir.
Thank you.
Yep, sure does. So let's go all the way down to the very bottom of that second page where it says, it has in blue or purple, whatever color that is for you, State Equalization Guarantee, SEG. And go up, 1, 2, 3, 4, there's another line that says unit value. You see that? $6,442.55. The line above that says total base program units plus the save harmless is 6,953.263. Last year, our units, number of units was 7,501. It got adjusted downward when they did the averaging of the 40, 80, and 120 day count, and kids were not coming to school. So that went, we got that reduction. I hoped that this year our units would also be about 7,501, and that is not the case. It's down to 6,953.263. That has a direct, you multiply that times that unit value of $6,442.55. That comes out to $44,796,744.54. This is our first pass. I had Rose, our STARS person, walk through all of these. These numbers are pretty right on, except for some discrepancies in special ed, which we're going to be working on. So hopefully we'll be able to recover a few more units. If we could get even 50 more units, it would significantly help our SEG. So that's why this is preliminary. This is a great way for us to take our first pass at everything, and it gives us sort of what we need to do to make it right. Okay, so that's the 910B5. Any questions on that and how that's calculated?
When you said, I'm sorry, when you said that we had 7,500 the first pass and ended up with 695 ratio, that's 548, and we're gonna hopefully recover some of that with the special ed, just whatever you're doing to increase the enrollment.
So it's not necessarily just enrollment. Remember, it's enrollment, the age of the students, and the type of the students. So all that factors in. That's why they're called units and not FTEs, for example, right? So we had last year, or this current year, I should say, 7,501 units times our our unit value, which was slightly less than the $6,200. But then I was hoping that we would have about the same number of units, and we don't. So, last time I presented to you, I said, well, let's see if we can make this work with the same number of units, even though we had increased costs. So the challenge is going to be, and I think that you'll see this very clearly, so we start the year with these massive increases in expenses. The risk management program, the salary increases, the GIMSIA increases that affect every single employee. We're already starting with the challenge. We already have to climb uphill, right? And then we get this, where our SEG is lower. So that creates even more of a challenge. So we were already going to have to look at ways to meet the needs of these other expenses with the same amount of revenue, right? Because we're kind of planning, we're gonna get about the same. There's not a whole lot of change necessarily year to year, because that unit value only went up $200 per unit, which ain't nothing. It's nothing. I'm telling you, it's nothing. It's like getting $1 extra in your paycheck, right? So we were gonna do this, and I thought, well, that's not gonna be too hard to do. But then the unit value dropped, and now we have a bigger chasm to fill, right? And so that's how that 910B5 comes in, and it's really good. And the positive thing about it is we know where we stand, right? It's always good to know where you stand. I had to send out a big old check to the IRS this Monday, but I knew where I stood. And so I knew it going into it 15 days before I wrote that darn check, but I knew where I stood, and that's the healthiest place to be when it comes to your money. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing that particular screen, and we're gonna go into the actual.
They have been holding meetings with stakeholder groups and following the budget calendar that Steve presented. And so he is working to start building the budget.
So this draft that you have in front of you, right here, it looks like this. We're only looking at the operations, none of the federal funds are represented here, just the operations. The money that is part of the SEG and all the other money that we get is funding operations. So keep that in mind, please, when we talk about operations only, because I'm going to share with you what we're proposing so far with revenue and with expenses. So the first sheet is revenue. So line A on your sheet where it says fund number 11111 cash. If you recall in there, the projected cash in 23-24 going into this year is $13,938,000. See that? Projected cash. Now let's go over all the way to projected cash for 24-25 in the whatever shade that is, brown shade. Line A, that cash is $12,650,000. A little bit less than what we went into the year with, but still very healthy, very good for us, because you'll see that cash is going to carry us through some of these leaner times. So it's 9% less than the cash that we started with this year. The next line is just simply some taxes, but that doesn't really change. Ad valorem taxes are the taxes that are collected on the houses, things like that. Investment income, line D. Line D. Last year we projected $424,000. When the board wisely made the investments in Morton Capital and others, we see the benefit here, $528,000 in money that's come in through our investments that can be used to cover other expenses that are not covered by the SEG. We are going to continue doing that. So that cash report that you saw, $43 million, right? And in the operating account that we have $10 million in the Morton investment accounts that we've had for now almost a year and a half, almost 2 years. And now we have another $10 million in the Wells Fargo account, which is a sweep account, which is not just a checking account that we have money just sitting there. It's earning almost 5% interest. And that interest is transferred every month into our checking account. every month. And then we have another 10 million in TDK, because as you remember, we're transferring that money over into Wells Fargo eventually, once we get all of the deposits made out to go directly to Wells Fargo. So we're anticipating $528,000 in investment income. I was very conservative. I think we're gonna hit 700,000 this next year. And I didn't want to overshoot. Always great to be better conservative than, and come out better smelling like a rose and have you all disappoint me. So what the heck is you doing, right? So rentals on line H, that stays the same. Donations on line I, pretty much the same. Revenue in lieu of taxes. So we have the wind farm, which is $312,000 a year. And now we have $125,000 coming from the solar farms. So wind and solar are now producing another $437,000 payment in lieu of taxes. That goes into the general fund. We can use it however we want. There's no restrictions. So you see the SEG on line N, 44,796,000. Indirect costs. This is money that comes to cover benefits that when we spend money in the federal programs to hire someone, they don't usually cover the benefits in that particular program, but they give us an allowance. That's what that is. And then impact aid, about $3.5 million. And then the forest reserve, which is another $198,000 jolt, which is great. So we're looking at operations only, just for operations, income of about 62,400,000, well, not about, this is how much we're looking at, which is 3.62% less than last year, or $2.3 million less than we have this current year. 2.3 million less. You have less money coming in through the SEGs and these other programs, which means when you got money not coming in as much as it was, you have to make changes in other areas. And of course, expenditures in other areas. So out of that money, we allocated, right now, we're spending, with the raises, and with the increase in burden on us, meaning how much we have to pay taxes, how much more we have to pay for the MCA premiums and all the other things. We're anticipating that we're going to be projecting just $41 million, which, as you can see, this year is $33 million, substantially higher, 22% higher, or $7.4 million more it will cost us if we don't do anything about staffing. That's if we make no changes, okay? But we've already gone through budget meetings with the principals, we've identified people who are leaving and all that jazz, and so there will be some moving back and forth like this, and I'm hoping that through attrition and all that we won't have to spend as much.
Will you update your screen on the computer,
Yes.
please?
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
So here we go.
Thank you. Thank you.
Fun part right there, all right? So you can see going on down the line, if you look at line 3, last year we put into what's called district discretionary funds, $10,429,000. That doesn't mean we can just do whatever we want. It means it's money that's unplanned spend, right? That things come up that we don't know are going to come up, and we have to make sure that we have cash in order to do that. This year we put away $10.4 million. We didn't spend all that, but we put that all around just to make sure. So we made it a little bit more conservative. We're going to be putting $6 million into that discretionary fund, right? So that's a 42% decrease. Our property and liability insurance, line number 4, it went from $1.5 million to 1.9, almost $2 million. It's an increase of 31.86%. That's a check that we have to write on July 15th. That's why we need cash. You can see, I'll go down, I'll give you another couple of examples. Our cash reserves. Last year, we put in $5,702,000 in cash reserves. That's how much we put into, when we say put, we just allocate that. We just kind of line item that in there, right? And this year, I'm proposing $3.7 million. Now, if you see it as a decrease, I would encourage you to see it as an opportunity. Thank God we have this money to put in the reserve. Thank goodness, there are many districts around the state, charter schools around the state who don't have that. And this is money that we, as tight as it might seem, we still are able to put money away in the bank to cover for a rainy day. There's a lot of rainy days coming, guys. You look at line 14. This is one of the areas where I've had long talks with Mr. Widener and Ms. Salazar. This is how much we use our substitutes. Now, it's a good thing. We need substitutes to cover the vacancies that we can't fill, and the people who are taking off the work, and you have to put someone in the classroom, right? However, the first, in 22-23, we allowed $950,000. This year, we allotted $2.5 million. We are almost at $2 million for this year. Outlandish amount of money. We have to do something about it. So in order to, I want to say force our hand, in order to force our hand and stay within a budget, we took it down to $950,000. We're just going to have to figure out something else to do, right? That's the challenge. Let's look at the instructional materials, line 18. That's a percentage of the SEG, so it's $412,000. The good thing about this is the state provides us with a lot of this cap on a separate allocation. So we can use this for other things, such as physics and robotics, such as other things that we use for the kids, right? So that's money that we have available. We put $100,000 into the gifted program, supplies and programs there. Again, making our stand on what we're going to be doing with Yazi Martinez to address not just the at-risk kids, but to address those who have not been fully rewarded and for their achievements as gifted kids. We went back to the office of the superintendent. That is line number 22. Instead of $375,000, we put $225,000 in there. That is a direct reflection on the fewer number of tort claims coming our way that is directed at the office of the superintendent. That's really important. Ms. Salazar has made great strides in putting together policy, putting together practices, training with employees to mitigate the number of claims coming out. Some of those things you can't do anything about, but we put enough money in there to cover those claims, which is very important. If you look at line number 21, we kept the same number of $35,000 for the board expenses, right? So that's not changed.
Mr. Mavna, where did we get that? But in all of my prior, I've been on the board 12 years and we've never been given a approval or anything. Where does, who budgeted the $35,000? And how come we didn't see it? Or we weren't provided the budget?
So it was in the budget last year, it was in the budget the year before that, it was in the budget the year before that. In the 5 years that I've been standing here presenting budget, that line item has been there. So every time we present this, I'm sorry?
Who decides on that amount?
You do. I show you this, right? And you can see it. You can change it if you wanted to make $40,000, right? I'm giving you a stake in the ground, which is what I've done before. Mr. Widener, it was Mr. Perez, right? We put a stake in the ground. And ultimately, the amount of money that goes into this budget comes from your approval, right? So
Madam
that's where
President,
that comes from.
do you want to ask a question? I've never seen that.
Well,
Wait a minute, just a second, let me explain. Is that, I know schools have budgets. Every school has a budget, so they're told that this is their budget. So they are told what it is that that budget is going to be spent on. I don't recall a presentation to the board saying this $35,000 is going to be spent on certain things and that's your limit. We've never seen that. I've never seen it in a finance committee, haven't seen it in a board meeting. It would seem reasonable for that kind of presentation be made to us so we would know that is only what you got. I can't find it. If I were to look in the board minutes, I don't see it. So you're saying you presented it, that's not the same. Every principal gets a budget, they know. We did not know. I don't know how you explain that we had been told. And that's puzzling, because when you looked at that PowerPoint the last time, you put $35,000 at the top. Then you put legal service at 57 for Himes, but you did not include Walsh. That's puzzling. So it doesn't make sense. We already know that legal services is a certain amount. When I asked you for a budget that was submitted in May, I looked at the line item for legal services. And so I saw that. But I did not see a line item saying 35,000. Help me to understand where that is, because when I looked at the full line item budget, I don't see a $30,000 budget. That's why I asked you for a complete listing of all the line items that we have by function, by fund, by function, and so forth. I cannot find that. Explain that to me.
I will be happy to do that.
But you also need to more than explain it to me, but to show me the actual budget so that I can see it.
Happy to do that. This document right here, all I did was take last year's budget that was presented to the board on many occasions.
That's not what I'm saying. I said you need to show me the whole thing.
And I'm happy to show you that. When I presented this budget in years past, this is the document that I have used for the last 4 years. Hasn't changed. All I'm doing is adding a column and adding the next year's budget. If you look at the line item, line number 21, that number was there last year. Look at the previous year's column. That's where I got that from. It hasn't changed. You saw it last year. You approved it. That doesn't mean that the legal services that were encumbered by the board were specifically laid out here. Most of the expenses that should be in this board expenses part is for training, travel, things like that, okay? The reason you didn't see in that layout Walsh Gallegos is because it has nothing to do with the board. Those are claims and encumbrances that have to do with the operations of the district, not the board's discretion to spend.
No, that's not correct.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
It is correct.
We will need to discuss with attorneys. When we look at the contract we made with Walsh, it describes the scope of their services. And those services, there is only one policy that addresses legal services. Legal services is not the superintendent's, it's the board's. Everything, all legal services come through the board. And that's what it says in the policy. If you were to look at the policy, it says that the legal counsel is for the board. And that's all it says. So.
For board matters.
But
So there's
but
very
it comes
important
through
to
the
make that
board.
distinction from board matters versus for operations.
There has
matters.
never been that distinction
It's
made.
been there for 5 years.
It has not been made by the
5
superintendent
years.
or by you.
It's been there for 5 years.
You have not made that clearly explained.
Well, then let me start now. That's the difference. It's been there for 5 years and hasn't changed.
Well, then how do
Look at
you
the
explain
previous
30,000, then 57,000? You should have told us way back when that we were exceeding. You said that we have overspent 88,000. Why didn't you tell us in October? Why didn't you tell us in November?
Dr. Guy.
Yes.
So the reason we got the information that we did was because I asked what the board expenses were.
Okay.
Because you and Emily and Ron all at our first meeting said that it would be a good opportunity, a good learning time for Mr. Jaramillo and myself to be on budget and
Absolutely.
finance. So as part of my new role, I asked that question. So I would defer to saying that it would be the board president's role to ask what the board's expenses have been.
Sure.
So Mr. Maldonado provided that because I asked. So I didn't expect him to give me information other than this line item, which is what you had asked for, correct? So I asked for specifics when I came upon the board president position. So perhaps asking in a nice way for it to be explained. Now, we can't change the past. We have to go forward from where we are now. So now Mr. Maldonado is indicating he's happy to explain these expenses going forward. Does that make sense? Perhaps I'm missing what you're
Well,
upset about.
And you were the president a couple years before
Right.
this.
yeah, but that's not the point. The point is, if we had $30,000, when did we have a board meeting where we were said, where it was told to us, you have $30,000 and these are the kinds of expenditures you can fit into that. And so if you had $30,000, then you're not gonna use in much. It's only gonna be training. But what are the line item accounts that are associated with training? I don't know what they are. That's why I asked for, when you made that PowerPoint, you did not show the line item accounts. You didn't show fund, function, code. You didn't show that, so I didn't know where it came from.
Right. I will never present that level of detail to the board. That is not the best practice, because the board should not have to eyeball that level of detail. It should be sufficient enough for the board to understand that there are parameters in how the money is to be spent. Now, I will just say this, since you brought it up, all right? The board didn't make the decision to spend all that money on legal fees. You did.
Yes.
Right? So it's not up to me to come to you and say, you need to stop that. It's up to me to talk to the superintendent to let him know. And at that time, I also spoke to Max Perez, and I said, I just want to let you know, here's where we are with fees going into this, that this portion of it is overspent. Not up to me to come to you to correct anything. It's up to me to provide this information to the superintendent and Mr. Perez, who at that time was my boss, which I did. Now, whether he chooses to do something about that or not up to me, right? There's other departments that went over budget. So
You used us as an example.
I want to set this record straight, okay? That the board didn't make that decision to go over budget. One person did.
But the thing was, we weren't informed at any time. I can ask the board, when were we told that it is just $30,000?
You were told when you saw the budget last year.
Did you give us the whole line item budget with every line item account?
I don't know how to convince you any better than that. You saw it.
Okay.
It went before you. This
And you-
document has not changed.
That's not,
Dr.
that is not the complete line item budget. This thing
You're not
here
gonna get
is
a
not.
detailed line item budget from this. That is not the purview of the board. That is the purview of operations. I'm just gonna say that out loud. It is my job to present to Mr. Widener and to the PED the various line items. I'm not going to share with you, for example, how much of the salaries and wages for teachers are broken down into Social Security or into benefits or to the benefits for medical. You've never, ever seen that. That would be ludicrous to bring that kind of level of detail because you can't do anything about it. There's a lot of things that are in the budget that are line item detailed that we are mandated to allocate. Your job is to look at the overarching budget to make sure that it's following the strategic plan, that we're spending it in the areas that you want to have it be spent in, not to manage the minutia.
That is not minutia. I've seen other boards and other sessions in there where they have complete line item examination and they approve those things and it's public. And so I don't understand where you decided that you had the power to not let us see that.
It is not me. So when I gave you the OBMS budget, that's all public information. Okay, if you want me to give you another 157 pages of detail and flood this board with information that's not going to make any difference in their decision making, then I'm happy to do that.
That would be good. But the thing is, you've got, in the previous years, I have seen presented to the board the complete line item for each school. Didn't necessarily mean by each teacher, but you would have.
I've never done that. I've never done that.
And you haven't done
I've never
that.
done that.
Well, what,
5 years I've been doing this.
what I'm saying to you is that
I've never done it.
that prevents us from having a complete understanding of the budget.
All right. I think at this time, we need to agree to disagree with the amount of information. I would recommend that you go back into your previous emails of what you may or may not have gotten. All of the meetings are recorded. We can all go back and revisit those meetings, those agendas, and what was presented at those times. I think that that would be the best thing going forward, because this isn't going to be resolved here. We have gotten a very detailed presentation overarching what the budget is. Mr. Maldonado, thank you very much. And I appreciate, as a new board member and board president, understanding that that presentation that we got this evening, Mr. Maldonado, is what you have done years prior. As I have watched the meetings for the last 4 years, I can state that this is very similar to what I have seen years prior. So I thank you for that information. I believe at this time we should move forward from this and go to Mr. Widener and his superintendent's report.
Perfect. Mr. Ortiz, you still with us? Perfect. I'm reporting on the National School Board Association Conference. We missed you there. We missed Mrs. Hunt Daly there. Three of the board members and myself went to the national conference in New Orleans, Louisiana, and had a great experience. We learned a lot. There were different workshops that we attended on boardmanship, law, budgeting, artificial intelligence in schools. Had some wonderful speakers, and also attended workshops on community relations and community involvement. And one thing that I came away with, Ray, do you have access?
Well, I'm getting there.
One thing that I came away with in conversations with the three board members that were there with me, we talked about our community involvement and what we do in the community. And so I came back last week and have worked to revise the website, the superintendent's page on the website, so that we're reaching out to the community so the community knows what's going on.
So this one is the mock, the mock website that we're wanting to.
This is what we're working on right
Working
now.
on.
This is a mock-up of the new website.
We're working with the technology team to look at how our website can be more accessible. It can be more demonstrative of what we're doing, show our schools, show our kids, videos, blogs, where we're reaching out and you see us in the community. As you know, that's a big part of our strategic plan. That's also a big part of my professional development plan as the superintendent. And so we're really gonna work on putting ourselves out there into the community. Lorraine, will you show them the current page? So I wanted to start recognizing and celebrating what we have going on. And so if you go to the superintendent's page at the top, if you go to the superintendent's page there, superintendent's news, you'll see there that I've put a little biography of who I am. We didn't have that before, and so I went and added that. And then as you scroll down, you see there that we are working with the strategic plan. That is the biggest portion of what we do at Grant Cibola County Schools. And then as you get down to the bottom, I've started creating press releases, informational writings, PSAs, announcements of things that we have going on. So when you open that, there's the history of the Grants High School mathematics competition that happened last week. There's a write-up on the National School Board Association. If you want to pull that one up, Lorraine. Right there, next to it. Yeah.
No, actually, it's right
The National School Board Association is the bottom one, Lorraine. And you can see there that I've written it up like press releases. So if the local newspaper wanted to take this and run with it, if we had Kinderfest last week, there's one there about that. There's the group of us at the conference. And so that's kind of what I wanted to report. It is a work in process. I've had a week to kind of start working on this and really want to start promoting that public relations and really kind of give you guys the evidence that I'm doing the important parts of my job. So that's kind of my summary of the National School Board Association and my takeaway to help us improve as a district.
There was there was a huge New Mexico coalition there. I mean, there's a lot of people there. New Mexico as well was seen.
Dr. Guy can attest to this. I believe we had 90
There's a bunch.
New Mexicans
We had-
represented at the NSBA.
On stage.
So, and we did, I don't know, we'd have to look at the NMSBA page and see if they posted, but we all got up on the stage and they did get to take a big group picture of all of us New Mexicans. I don't know if they have it up as handily as we have it on our website now.
Right.
I think that's really exciting to get this information out to our community.
If you're bored, you look through the science fair kids that were here. There's a press release on that, and there's Kinderfest, and there's our gifted and talented students last week had a wonderful city government event. So check it out.
Wonderful. Questions for Mr. Widener? I think it's awesome. I think the more that we can reach our community members, our parents and students, the better, because they need to know what's going on in the district, and that's a great way. All right, action items. Our first action item is consideration of approval of the expenditure of Physics in a Box in the amount of $154,000 $912.50. Superintendent Widener, is there a recommendation?
I recommend that we approve physics in a box for $154,920.50.
Wonderful. Is there a motion to approve the expenditure of physics in a box?
I'll make the motion to consider the approval of the expenditure of physics in a box in the amount of $154,912.50.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ron, Emily beat you to it.
Okay.
Wonderful. It has been moved by Mr. Jaramillo and seconded by Ms. Hunt Daly to approve the expenditure of physics in a box in the amount of $154,912.50. Is there any further discussion that we need this evening? All right, hearing none, we shall proceed to a roll call vote. Mrs. Sandoval, please.
Dr. Shambo?
Yes.
Ms. Hunt Daly? Yes. Mr. Jaramillo?
Yes.
Mr. Ortiz? Mr. Ortiz?
Yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Lee?
Aye, motion carries. Our second action item is consideration of approval of the expenditure on the amount, in the amount of $131,547.46 to Roof Care LLC to replace the former ROTC building roof.
I was gonna say, it'd be nice if we could replace that whole building.
Yeah, but that wording was not quite correct. It would be to refurbish. What would the correct word be, Mr.?
Rejuvenate.
Rejuvenate. Perfect. Rejuvenate the former ROTC building roof at Grants High School. Now, Mr. Widener, is there a recommendation?
Mr. Triplehorn,
Mr.
do you need to
Triplehorn.
talk about this?
So, yes, thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Mr. Widener. So we did earlier this year, you guys approved a contract for Roof Care to go and do an assessment of all our roofs. They did some minor maintenance while they were up there doing that. I believe we spent about $110,000 doing this roof assessment. And one of the things that came out of it was that the roof on top of the current ROTC building at Grants High School was at the end of life. Okay, we still have a wood floor in there that we want to protect. It would be super expensive to replace. And so Roof Care came to us with a rejuvenation process for this roof that will give us another 10 years. They'll give us a 10-year warranty on it, on all materials, workmanship, labor, everything, for $131,000. If we were to replace that roof with a new roof, like we just did at Laguna Acaba, we're talking close to probably $600,000 or $700,000, and we would get a 20-year warranty on that roof. So that building is kind of nearing the end of life. I think another 10 years would give us some options as to what our plans are to do with that building. And we won't have to worry about it being ruined by leaks. So that's the plan.
I recommend that we do approve this re-roofing of the Grants High School former ROTC building.
Rejuvenating, not re-roofing.
In the amount of $131,547.46.
All right, thank you, Mr. Widener. Is there a motion to approve the expenditure in the amount of $131,547.46 to Roof Care to rejuvenate the former ROTC building roof at Grants High School? Well, we make the motion and then we discuss our questions. Is there a motion? I'll make the motion. Is there, I will make the motion to approve the expenditure in the amount of 131,000, et cetera, for rejuvenating. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Ortiz. I'm gonna give it to Mr. Ortiz. It has been moved by President Lee and seconded by Mr. Ortiz to approve the expenditure on the amount of $131,547.46 to Roof Care LLC to rejuvenate the former ROTC building roof at Grants High School. Is there a discussion? Ms. Daly?
I'm getting the impression that there's no more ROTC program going on, right?
Correct.
Okay, so let's at least rename the building so that they know what we're doing. And maybe a more, I would have loved to see the estimate or the writing of the estimate.
The current roof is at end of life, so it's not leaking bad, but it could be a catastrophic failure any day.
That's what I would have loved to see a report on that.
So I will email that to Mr. Widener and he can share it with the board members.
That way we're spending that much money, then we at least have sufficient data to support why we're spending that much money. Others might say, well, if you're not using it for ROTC, just get rid of it.
So we are using it, and there are plans to address the renaming of it. We're actually gonna rename that building the GHS multi-purpose building. So it's gonna be used for wrestling, for cheerleading, softball's gonna be used for locker rooms since their field is right there. So it's gonna be a multi-use building.
Okay, and that would have been what I would have wanted to see so that we have support for our expenditure. More detailed information instead of just this, right, what we see here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Lynn, did you see Miss Daly all of this information as well?
I got that.
Okay.
I'll send Mr. Widener the full report, it has pictures and.
I have a question is, what fund will that be out of?
That'll be out of capital expenses.
Is there any further discussion? All right, hearing none, we shall proceed to a roll call vote. Mrs. Sandoval, please.
Dr. Archambeau,
Yes.
Ms. Hunt Daly,
Yes.
Mr. Jaramillo,
Yes.
Mr. Ortiz,
Mr. Ortiz?
Yes.
Mrs. Lee.
Aye, motion carries. Mr. Widener, announcements.
Yes, we do have lots coming up. It's the end of the school year and of course, we're getting ready for graduation. As I mentioned earlier, we will have one more meeting before we get into graduation. So staff appreciation, National Teacher Appreciation Time happens around May 3rd. So we'll be having our Staff Appreciation Day on May 3rd. It's gonna be a little different this year. We're gonna do it a little different. We're gonna have an evening event on May 2nd where we'll be awarding and recognizing folks. And then on May 3rd, they'll be doing site staff appreciation at different school sites with meals. Early college high school graduation is May 10th at NMSU. The GHS graduation is May 17th, and Laguna Acoma graduation is on May 18th. And so we have a lot coming up, and we have, like Mrs. Elkins and Mr. Sanchez mentioned, there's things on their campuses all the time right now, and so
Do we have times for the graduation ceremonies?
we do. Grants High School is 6 p.m. and I believe Laguna's at 10 a.m. Is that correct?
I think I was at.
It was at 10 a.m. last year.
And we don't know about it?
Early college is at 10 a.m.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
You said May 2nd was for what?
May 2nd, we will be doing an awards recognition of our retirees, our people that have lengthy tenures. And so we've invited them to an awards event, and we'll be having that event that evening.
We did email each of you an invitation.
I got one in the
And so
mail.
if you'll RSVP and give that to Ronaldo so we can get a good count for that
Also,
evening.
I'll need to know because if we have more than 3, I need to put a PSA out.
To the graduation or to the awards, or everything?
To the awards and
And to graduation.
Well, I'll probably be attending all of them. What was the time of the?
I believe, and I'm not,
May 2nd.
I'm not su- I believe it's expected that you will all be at the graduations and
Oh, okay.
and I will be at the graduations. And so Lorraine will prepare PSAs for that.
The May 2nd is for the retirees, and that's at what time?
6 p.m.
6
to
p.m.
10.
What, and then the May 3rd, is that the one in the gym?
May 3rd is at the school sites. We're not gonna do the gym thing. So May 3rd, it'll just be at their sites. They'll have meals. They're gonna do their own things with their staff.
Okay, that was fun, that day. We all get together and get to see each other. That was fun.
Why did we change the staff appreciation from the all day in the gym to the way it is this year?
It's kind of like
Ms.
the.
Daly was asking.
It's kind of like the physics in a box. We get lots of feedback. And so Lisa got lots of feedback last year that, hey, we don't want to do baskets. We don't want, we don't want to, give us the day off, give us time off. And so that's kind of,
And historically, our awardees that have our tenure are 5, 10, 15, 20, and the years of service and retirees, they felt rushed. It was kind of like in between presentations. And so it was like, okay, all of our 5-year, and we kind of just handed them congratulations, congratulations. And so we really want to honor their tenure with us and the retirees and give them the recognition that they deserve in our district.
it's more like a dinner and.
And it's a
an
semi-formal-
event, like a gala, like an event.
Location?
Knights of Columbus.
Oh.
And so.
May 2nd?
May 2nd, yes. And if you did not receive your invitations, please let me know.
Well,
So,
I did get them, and I
Oh,
did
okay.
get a lot of phone calls on why we were changing.
Darn phone calls, you guys
Thank
get
you.
this all the time.
Thank you for clarifying that for us, Mr. White.
Future agenda items, we do have the budget we're gonna have to approve coming up. Do you guys have any suggestions for future agenda items?
There's one, but maybe I can bring it up later with you and
Certainly.
with you. But it might require another meeting, but I'll pose that.
After, got it.
Well, then I think we still want to schedule a board work session.
We do. We need to get
do
that
that.
scheduled. Yes. Well, we need to get one scheduled. And the feedback that I've gotten is that it needs to be during the week. It can't be a weekend. And so that leaves us, needing to try and pick a day during the week that everybody might be able to attend. Or at the very least, we would need to schedule a meeting in the afternoon, later afternoon, but budget time to go later into the evening to cover everything we need to cover. And so at this point, I would ask if there are any, I know for Mr. Jaramillo and myself, Fridays during the day work very well as far as our schedules go. But I think we would be amenable to an evening if we had to.
Graveyard.
Yeah, graveyard shift, there we go. Yeah.
I mean, that way everybody could be here.
But Miss Daly, you indicated that you have a new job, so evenings would end up being what we would need to do. Mr. Ortiz, would evenings be amenable for you if we were to schedule a work session?
I'm ready whenever you guys are, so.
Wonderful.
Hear me? Are we still on?
That part of the district is also important.
Everybody in the district is important, absolutely. That's a very good point to bring up.
So that's something that we can work on when we're working on the schedule for the board.
Yes. Absolutely. All right, well, I will.
One more thing, when I was reading my notes, we need to finish our evaluation of our superintendent. We haven't done that.
We did do that.
We did do that.
We did do that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. That was in one of the meetings. We had to present that finding to him and the summation to him. Dr. Archambault kindly typed all of that out and we presented it, but you had 2 meetings you were unable to attend, which we respectfully know why. And so that was presented to the superintendent during one of those executive sessions.
There's a meeting identified in April under that. We might look at that. We don't want to, go over it right now. We can look at that. Let me show it to you and see what we can do with that. It's listed in in one of the policies. I just don't know which one. It may not be evaluation, maybe.
I don't know why I have 27th in my mind. I don't know.
27th?
I don't know why I have a 27th.
Oh, back to that. Yeah, I'm amenable to the week of the 22nd. In the evening.
I'm not available that day.
On the.
You said the 22nd.
No, I said I'm
7th.
amenable for the week of the 22nd.
Oh, the
Oh,
week
okay.
of in the evening.
That's next week.
We'll need to look at availability.
Okay, so the
When is
meeting,
graduation?
first meeting is on the 7th, so I could even be amenable the following week too.
So graduation will all be behind us and everything by then.
Right. All right, the superintendent and I'll work on the schedule, the work session, et cetera, and propose dates, and we'll see what consensus we can come up with for
Is
an
that
evening
Memorial Day
meeting.
weekend? Cause I'll be gone.
No, we're talking, we were talking April.
Oh.
We're not
okay.
talking, we're
May,
not talking
okay.
then. Correct. I don't
Okay,
think,
no, I'm good,
I
I'm
don't
good.
think anybody will be here that
Yeah,
week.
no, I'm good.
All right,
About the training.
we're talking about the work session.
And topics to be
Correct.
decided.
Yep. Correct. All right, at this time, Superintendent Widener, is there a recommendation for the meeting to adjourn?
I recommend that the meeting adjourn.
All right, thank you for that. Is there a motion to adjourn? Ms. Daly, thank you. And may I have a second to adjourn?
Second the motion.
Thank you. It has been moved by Ms. Hunt Daly and seconded by Dr. Archambault to adjourn the meeting. Ms. Sandoval, roll call, please.
Dr. Ashambo?
Yes.
Ms. Hunt Daly?
Yes.
Mr. Jaramillo?
Yes.
Mr. Ortiz?
I think we got ahead.
Mr. Ortiz? Mrs. Lee?
Aye.
says
Motion
yes.
carries. The board adjourned at 8:17 PM.
Need a bathroom break.
Yes.
Don't drink my water, Lorraine.
Okay.
Don't drink it.
I'll send you.
No.